What's up? I'm Brianna Ivy, and this is the Hear from a Student podcast. Obi, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Brianna?
I'm good because tomorrow is Friday, and I've been waiting on this since I woke up Monday morning.
I
So
know, me too, me too. It's been a long week with classes and work. It's been a
yeah,
lot, but we made it
we
almost.
did. This week was interesting. Next week will hopefully be better. We know how the classes work, kind of get some balance. But
Exactly. Like this week was kind of like a feeling out type of week, but
yeah,
no, we made it. We
we
good.
did.
Mhm.
So start by introducing yourself to the people. Let us know your name, your major that you studied in college, and where you went to school and where you're from.
Okay, so my name is Benjamin Obona, but everyone just calls me Obi. I've been going by Obi since I was yay high.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been going by Obi. I graduated from the University of Toledo. I studied biomedical engineering with a minor in chemistry. So, And then what was the other question? I think I forgot the other question you asked.
No, you said major, your name, where you from?
Oh yeah, so I'm from Toledo, Ohio. So I've lived there for most of my life.
Okay, yeah. Now you covered them all.
Yeah, there we go.
Biomedical minor in chemistry.
hmm
When you were before you got to college, when you were in high school, did you know you wanted to study biomedical engineering, and how did you come to that conclusion?
Actually, no. It wasn't until late senior year where I realized that biomedical engineering
Mm-hmm.
was definitely the major I wanted to go into. Honestly, before senior year, I didn't even know biomedical engineering was like an actual thing.
Yeah.
Like, had no clue about the major, people who were in biomedical. I didn't know anything about anything when it came to biomedical engineering. But I do remember in high school, I did take two specific classes that I remember that made a huge impact on my life
Mm-hmm.
personally. So I took this robotics class, and I took this AP bio class with one of my favorite teachers of all time. Her name is Mrs. Brock. So the robotics class, like I really enjoyed it a lot. It was my first time actually doing some sort of engineering work
Mm-hmm.
in high school and just learning how to code, learning how to like program things and like seeing like what happens when you program certain things to do things.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool because I've never done anything like that before at all. So that class, like I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed doing the homeworks. I even enjoyed doing the tests in that class because I was like, yo, this is I know, right? It was like I was so like infatuated with everything robotics. Like
Yeah.
everything in that class was just was so new to me and like I was so interested in it. So like everything excited me.
Yeah.
So I was down to do anything in that class. And the teacher at the time for robotics, he was, always trying new things with us. He was always down for us like to do certain things. It was just a great class overall. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that class thoroughly in high school. And my AP bio class, my teacher was Mrs. Brock,
Mm-hmm.
and she just really fueled my love for biology.
Mm-hmm.
Beforehand, like bio was one of those science classes that I wasn't really feeling at all.
Yeah.
Like learning about chromosomes and mitosis and plants and all that good stuff. Like, yes, it's important, of course, but it wasn't really interesting to me at the time
Mm-hmm.
until I took her class. And the way she just broke down things and broke down, different topics and made it fun for all of us. It just really resonated with me. And she would just always go above and beyond. And she would just find ways to drive home complex topics, complex things into a simpler way so that we can digest it better in the class. So after taking that class, I've really started to enjoy biology a lot. And it wasn't until like late senior year where I had to like figure out what major I wanted to go into. All I knew is that I wanted to do something math related, robotics related,
Mm-hmm.
but I also wanted to do something along the lines of like, biology and chemistry. So it
Yeah.
wasn't until my mom told me that, hey, have you looked into this thing called biomedical engineering?
Yeah.
It's a little bit about, it's kind of the best of both worlds where you get to, work with technology, but also work with it in a sense where you're working with it with living things like
Yeah.
living matter. So I'd never heard of it, but like when she told me about it, I did more research about it. And I was like, yes, this is definitely the major I want to go into because it's like the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah.
Um, that's how I got into the amazing world of biomedical engineering.
That's a really good origin story.
Right. Yeah, it's a great, it is, it
Yeah, it
is.
is. Because I feel like I didn't learn about biomedical engineering really until probably late senior year, first semester of college. I had no really deep knowledge of any other engineering fields. I just thought electrical engineering would be cool. But
Right.
yeah, so also did not know about biomedical engineering, but now I know a lot of biomedical engineers.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
When you got to school, so you went to the University of Toledo,
Yes.
um, did you was there a moment in time that you decided you wanted to add a chemistry minor? Did you know that going in, or was it like a class that you took?
So the chemistry minor wasn't planned. It was more so the fact that when you entered the biomedical engineering major, you naturally have to take a lot of science classes.
Mhm.
And a lot of those science classes, like if you, a lot of science classes, like they can lead up to you potentially getting your chemistry minor. You just have to take maybe like one or two extra classes
Yeah.
inside. So I decided, you know what, like I'm already like I'm only two classes away from getting a chemistry minor. I
Yeah.
might as well do these two extra classes and actually enjoy those two extra classes were biochemistry 1 and 2. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I might as well do this. Like I do like biochemistry. Like it sounds interesting to me. So might as well just
Yeah.
explore more. So that's how I got the chemistry minor added on.
Okay, okay. When you were going through your coursework, what are some of the big topics in biomedical engineering, and what were your favorite topics to learn about?
So it's a lot of like, so when it comes to biomedical engineering, it's a lot of like there are subspecialties or like sub things, like subtopics within the world of biomedical engineering. So you could like focus more on like, the computer aspect, the computer science aspect of things, like, um, you know, doing like medical biosignal processing work, where you like learn working with different signals generated from the body, and then just kind of like processing it through a computer, so you can like make real world analysis on those signals. So there's
Yeah.
like the computer science aspect of things. There's also like working on electronics, like bioinstrumentation and bioelectronics, where classes where we kind of played around with different devices and learn how to make certain devices that apply to the like biomedical space.
Mhm.
So like there was that. There was also like this class called Medical Internet of Things. It was actually my favorite class, where we learned how to like make real world medical devices, and also like incorporate different types of connectivity. So like we
Mhm.
made, so like for that specific class, we made a ECG device,
Mhm.
and they were like, we learned how to like connect it to Bluetooth, do we also did a lot of like soldering work. It was a lot of things that we did, like engineering work that we did within that class, um, that I really enjoyed, because like we got to make this device. We started from like nothing
Yeah.
to a real world medical device, functioning medical
Yeah.
device at the end of the semester. So that was probably my favorite class. But when it comes to bioengineering, like there are different subtopics. You could choose to focus more on the computer science portion of it. You could choose to focus more on like the electronics, like
Mhm.
you could choose the mechanics, the mechanical portion. Like so like there are classes like biomechanics, advanced biomechanics, if that fits you, fits
Yeah.
what you like. That's why I like bioengineering a lot, because you could really do a lot within the field. It's not
Yeah.
just one thing.
Yeah. I always say my favorite classes were the classes where we got to take all the theory and all of the like small skills that we learned up until that point and like put it in one project and build something from start to finish. Those are always
Right, right. That's why I love the medical internet of things class, because you really got to like, not only were you learning the theoretical part of it, but like you were also like applying what you learned,
exactly.
building something.
Yeah. You mentioned that project. Was that your favorite project that you did, or was there another one that really sticks out?
So that was one of my favorite. Another one that I did wasn't really part of a class. It was kind of like a side thing that I did, but it's kind of like cool because they were looking for biomedical engineers, and that's kind of like the cool thing about biomedical engineers. Like there are so many projects that you can work on the side. So one of my favorite projects was working with this urologist on this device that he needed at the time for his OR. So just kind of creating that device using like CAD, AutoCAD and SolidWorks to make something from the computer and like produce it 3D printed to actually be used in the OR. That was a fun experience. It took us about a year to like go through the design work and work with the surgeon and see what he liked and what he didn't like. But that's a cool thing about biomedical engineering. Like you get to work with so many, it's so interdisciplinary. Like you get to work with so many different people from different specialties and fields. And like the fact that I got to work with that surgeon for an extended amount of time and just kind of not only learn more about what is needed in the OR, but actually get to see the device used in the OR.
Yeah.
That was definitely a fun experience. I wouldn't have traded that experience for anything in this world, honestly.
Yeah, that's really cool. I liked working on interdisciplinary projects because as an electrical engineer or a biomedical engineer, you focus on the things that you're taught to focus on. But when you're working with other people, you get to like watch their process and pick their brain and see
Right,
how
yeah.
they do things. And I can only imagine that working with a surgeon is like probably so different from working with a different type of engineer because they consider different things. So I feel like that was
Right, right. It's cool. It was a cool learning process. Just kind of tapping into his brain, seeing how like we're both trying to solve the same problem, but like we had two different perspectives. So it was cool seeing his own perspective, and he also saw our own perspective, and we both learned throughout the process. It was a pretty cool experience, nonetheless.
I bet. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
What maybe was your least favorite topic or least favorite class?
Oh man. So I don't know if I should say this, but quality. I was not a big fan of quality. So we had this what was it called? It was like called advanced biomedical quality class. And it was just basically it was just all statistics. Like just straight statistics. And honestly, Brianna, that is not my thing. Like
it's not my thing either.
Yeah, like just straight. And I remember like week one, there was a document on Blackboard, and Blackboard is like where we get all our homework assignments and whatnot. And like this document underneath that class, it was just like all the equations and like notes. It was just all numbers. It was so condensed. I'm like, yo, what kind of class am I in right now?
Yeah.
By far the hardest class I've ever taken. I did not enjoy it. I just didn't like any aspect of it whatsoever. But to each their own. Some people like that kind of thing. That's not for me.
Not for me. Georgia Tech had a stat requirement for double E's. I pushed it off for as long as I could. I hated statistics in high school. I got forced into taking AP stat in high school. Hated it. I would go into my next class so upset every day, and my friends would be like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'd be like, "I hate statistics." Then I got to tech, and they made me take it again, and then I hated it then. So I understand stat, not my thing, but cool. Shout out to the people.
Yes. Yeah. Shout out to them.
Needed.
They the real ones because I couldn't do it.
Exactly. What was the most challenging thing about studying biomedical engineering?
I think when it comes to biomedical engineering, you need to know a little bit about everything. So like that's one thing that I noticed. So, a lot of the classes, so like we took classes that were more mechanical engineering inclined. We took a lot of like coding classes too as well. We took a lot of classes that were like in the electrical engineering department. So, and you couldn't avoid these classes. They're part of our curriculum.
Right.
So certain classes, certain classes like coding, right? Some people are just more inclined to do better in code. Like that's their thing. Right. But other people, like coding isn't their thing at all. Like they're more like mechanical engineering inclined. Like that's their thing. But you have to go through all of these different classes because, like I said, is part of the curriculum for biomedical engineering. So just kind of like find a way to like navigate through all of these different subfields within biomedical engineering during your time as an undergrad. It's probably the most difficult part about the major because you can't avoid them. So you can't avoid bioelectronics, you can't avoid biomechanics, you can't avoid, these coding classes because they're all part of biomedical engineering. So it does get a little bit difficult. Like for me specifically, biomechanics wasn't really something that I was too interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was kind of tough, doing some of the assignments and the tests and the quizzes, but it is part of the major, so you just have to kind of get through it. So I guess that's probably the most difficult thing about biomedical engineering, just how diverse it is and how like you just have to be you have to know a little bit about everything in order to make it through.
Yeah. I can imagine how that would be.
Yeah.
When you're good at things you're good at. Like for me, electrical, I don't have to think about like, the mechanical structure of whatever the thing is that I'm working on. I don't have to I just think about voltage, wires, current, things like that. Having to consider so many different parts, I can see how that could be.
Exactly. And then I don't know if we have time. I was going to include something else too.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like on that same token, because like we have to learn a little bit about everything, but also like we don't when it comes to biomedical engineering, it's hard to like it's more about breadth than depth, in my personal opinion. So we know a lot about these different subfields, but like not necessarily enough. So when it comes to like mechanical engineers like electrical engineer, like we know like, a lot about that space, like electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, but like not enough like compared to, those other engineering disciplines. So like sometimes it's hard to like, when it comes to like different opportunities and, it's hard to like kind of compare or like leverage what you've learned in biomedical engineering compared to those who took mechanical or electrical, because you haven't gotten all of that information that they have gotten through their own engineering discipline. But the good thing about us is that we have that breadth. We have a lot of different things that we have to learn within a major. But I just wanted to kind of like point that out.
Yeah, of course. And I think there's the duality to it is interesting because it's a strength, but depending on, situation, how you flip
it. Exactly.
Weakness. So I feel like you have to really, I think that goes into something that at Tech we learned a lot about, like advocating for yourself and, being able to talk about your skills and what you do well. So that way you can like frame it in a, I have broad knowledge, but also I can do these things and I bring these skills to the table. So
of course, it's all about framing and how you put it. But yeah, there are definitely pros and cons to it. Yeah.
Before you started your journey as a college student, and now that you finished and, looking back, did you have any misconceptions that got cleared up when you started going through your coursework? Misconceptions about biomedical engineering?
So I guess before starting the major, I guess the misconception that I had was that, that's a good question. I guess if I remember correctly, I guess if the misconception that I had was that it'd be more so like it wouldn't be as technically challenging compared to the other engineering disciplines. I heard from like a couple of people like back then that like, you guys focus like biomedical engineers, they focus a lot more on like, physiology and anatomy. And like those classes take up a lot of the, other engineering classes that you might take if you were in other disciplines, engineering disciplines. So that was like my common misconception then. And when I went through that major, I was completely wrong, because like you learn a lot of technical skills within the major. You learn a ton, from electrical to mechanical to, different coding languages. You learn a lot on top of, physiology and then anatomy and all those different things. So it is a very diverse, very comprehensive major that where you learn so many different things
Yeah.
within 4 or 5 years, or however long you stay in undergrad within biomedical engineering. So I think that was like the biggest misconception, that it's not as technically challenging compared to the other engineering disciplines.
Okay, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. I've asked a couple different biomedicals, and that's a new one.
Yeah.
This is kind of along the same lines, but what is something you wish someone would have told you about either biomedical engineering or studying STEM in general, or about college?
I guess for me, I'll go more of like the general sense, but for me, I didn't really appreciate until like maybe my sophomore or junior year the importance of joining an organization on campus, because joining an organization can really like push you to wherever you need to go to quicker than just you doing it yourself. My freshman year, like early on, I was into some organizations here and there, but I really didn't take it too seriously, if I'm being completely honest. I went to a few meetings here and there, but I didn't really utilize all the resources that these organizations had. So for example, like NSBE and other engineering inclined organizations on campus. And I really wish that like I would have started earlier to really like maximize those resources, because those resources are there for a reason. They're there to help you advance in your professional development. Someone put them there for a reason. And the fact that you're not using those resources is kind of like, dang, it's being wasted. So I just kind of wish that I kind of like learned about them earlier rather than later. I mean, still like I started taking the organizations more seriously my sophomore year, but like maybe if I would have started my freshman year, like to take these organizations more seriously or just kind of participating more, it would have helped me advance a little bit further. So if I had like, if I want to leave any sort of advice for anyone, like definitely like day one, week one, whatever, join an organization and make sure that you like keep with that organization, just participate as much as possible, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who you're going to meet, the connections you're going to make, the resources you're going to find in these orgs. So definitely something I wish I would have learned earlier.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I second the motion. And for whatever reason, freshman year, Brianna was so just academically focused. Like, go to class, go back to your dorm, do the homework, maybe go to the library, just wake up tomorrow, start all over. So being a part of orgs and clubs didn't even really like dawn on me as something that I should do. I joined like club basketball second semester, but that was just because I wanted.
That's dope. Yeah.
But, like the other ones, like NSBE, like IEEE, like the other orgs that I ended up joining throughout my college career, I feel like also it probably would have been better for me to start and be committed.
Right.
Be committed in general earlier. So I that's great advice.
Yeah. And like it's tough, especially with engineering, because like you want to do well in these classes, and these classes are not easy at all, Brianna. Like they are tough. And it's so easy to fall into a routine where you just go to class, do homework, go to sleep, wake up, go to class. Like it's easy to fall into that routine because, these classes require a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you can't just study simply in the class. Like you gotta like do a lot of work outside of the class. So it's real easy to like not have time to join these organizations or really like put too much care into joining these organizations. But still, like I know how hard engineering is, but like still like I would urge anyone really, and even my younger self, to like join these organizations as early as possible, because really like, yes, academics is important. Yeah, yes, getting the grades. Of course you need the grades, of course. Yeah. But like the extracurriculars are also important too. Yeah. The people you meet, the connections you establish, they're also important to helping you get to where you need to get to in life, professionally, personally, wherever the case may be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to add on to that, one last thing, even if you can't, like, I remember advice that I got when I was told to join orgs is just like, freshman year, you're figuring out, you're trying to get your footing, you're trying to,
Right.
understand what kind of student you are. So even if you just join one org, just to like be a part of a community and be a part of
Yeah.
what they're doing, get those resources because somebody's paying for them. Don't waste people's money. You're probably paying for
Important.
it. So use
Facts.
those resources. So I do agree with that, but it's also okay to like take your time and figure out, what you like. And it's also okay if you don't like, if you join a club and you don't like it, you can leave.
Exactly
So
that.
you can just try
Exactly.
things out. So
Exactly.
yes. Was there ever a moment throughout your collegiate career where you thought maybe I can't do this? And then on the flip side of that, was there a moment where you was like, oh, I was built for this?
Mm, it's a really good question. Um, was there ever a moment? I would say, you know what? Both of those moments actually happened on the same day.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah, so both of those moments. So like it was the very first conference that I participated in back in 2018. It was actually a NSBE regional conference.
Mhm.
And this was like the first conference where like this was I think if I remember correctly, this was like the first conference where I actually like I was taking it seriously. Like I had to like actually like work hard to get a co-op,
Mhm.
like this was my first actual career fair. Like the one
Right.
I participated in at school was more so like, it was part of a class. It was just for us to kind of like guess, you know, just kind of get a better understanding of how career fairs work. This
Right.
was my first real one. So I was really nervous, extremely nervous. But I tried to like keep it cool, play it cool, with my friends and all that stuff. But I was extremely nervous because like I didn't really know. I knew about the elevator pitch and like what to say and
Mhm.
what not to say, but I was still pretty nervous. So I remember the first organization or the first company I talked to, and I won't say their name,
Okay.
but the first company I talked to, right? I started go rambling. I
Yeah.
started rambling about like, how you're supposed to kind of keep it short and straight to the
Yeah.
point. Like I was rambling about, some news article that I read about their company. And like,
Yeah.
I thought that's something like, I thought that's something that they would like to hear about, you know? So like, I started talking about that and I could just see the recruiter's face looking like the recruiter's face was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
I could see the recruiter's face. And like, because like the person wasn't really like, feeling me at all, I started to like get more nervous. And then when I get nervous, I start to like stutter a lot.
Yeah.
It was just a whole mess. And it got so bad that I had to like personally excuse myself from
Wow.
the entire conversation.
Yeah.
And that was like the first company I talked to, first one off rip. So I didn't I it took me like 5-10 minutes to like regather myself
Hmm.
and realize that, you know what, it's just one company. But at the moment when I was regathering myself, it was just like, dang, this was the first company I talked to and I just completely blew it.
Yeah.
Completely blew it. I didn't know what to say. I was so nervous. Am I gonna feel this way for every single company?
Hmm.
And the funny thing is that that company I talked to was more so like they always told us that you should always practice with a company that you're not really,
Yeah.
really like see yourself working there. It's just to kind of like build your confidence up. And the
Hmm.
fact that I struggled with that company, I'm like, how am I gonna go for this other company that I actually want to
Yeah.
work with, So it was, I was just kind of rattled. I was extremely rattled after that moment. But after taking some time to regather myself, getting water, I drank a lot of cups of water. After
Yeah.
that, I'm out here. I drank a lot of water. I decided to talk to other companies.
Hmm.
I did the whole practice thing. Slowly over time, like after talking to 2-3 companies, I started to get better. I started to get more concise. I realized my mistakes, and then funny thing about that day is that I went back later on in the afternoon to that same company. I talked to a different recruiter,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kind of, I was a little, I was much more collected,
Yeah.
much more collected. I talked to them. I told them about myself, my skills, asked them questions like usual.
Yeah.
And on that same day, I got an interview from that company, and they actually gave me an internship position a few days later. So
Wow.
like it was just all that happened in a span of a day. All of that happened in the span of a day. But it just goes to show that like moments like that can happen in engineering, in your engineering career, where where you just feel like inadequate, you feel like you're not good enough. And that's
Yeah.
exactly how I felt initially. But you can't let that feeling weigh you down, you know? You just have to move forward and just, you know, accept the fact that it happened and,
Mhm.
you know, try again, which I did literally.
And look at, and it got you
And
a job.
it got me a job. Hey, we here. We
Wow.
here.
That
But
is
yeah, that
so
was
good.
that's my story.
That is such a good story. And also it just goes also to show the importance of, how you pick yourself back up out of that moment. Cause you could have went home. You could have been like, you know
Oh
what? I'm
yeah.
just gonna go back to if y'all went,
Yeah, we were in a hotel. I was
yeah,
gonna
I could have went back to the hotel. Like, and I'm sure those thoughts might have, I know for me, I know those thoughts would have went through my mind. I would have been like, all right, well, I could probably Uber, walk, something.
yeah, I was thinking about how am I gonna get back to the room.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking
So
about
it's so important how we pick ourselves up from those moments because even if they're not, that in that setting, in that context, they happen, throughout the course of being a student in college, whether you're studying STEM or not. Like there are a lot of moments like that, and you have to really, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, because you never talked to a recruiter before in that setting,
right,
you really
right.
be serious about it. And I feel like sometimes we're so hard on ourselves when really it's like, okay, practice, that was just practice, and practice make perfect. And then you worked your way from that moment to an internship in the same day. And that is a fantastic story.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So you mentioned internships a few minutes ago. Did you have like where did you intern? Did you have a favorite internship and what did you do there?
So I was a clinical optical technology intern.
Okay.
So I worked in the same company for about 4 rotations, actually. So like 4 co-ops, I worked in the same company. So the first 3 co-ops, I was that clinical optical technology intern. And what I did was, I worked in the lab. I worked with different imaging modalities, and I
Mm-hmm.
basically like it was a whole bunch of coding and you know basically I was working in the space of bioelectronics. It's kind of like creating different devices and kind of seeing what would work, what wouldn't work. It was very like early R&D works, like
Mm-hmm.
working on devices that maybe would enter the market in about 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was a whole lot of like exploratory work, just
Okay.
kind of like seeing what would work, what wouldn't work. So those were my first 3 co-ops.
Okay.
And then the last one was more so like on the others spectrum of R&D, where it's kind of like working on devices that were about to be released. So just kind of like making some modifications. It was more so CAD work. So it was
Okay.
more like creating those 3D designs and doing a lot of 3D printing and
Mhm.
just kind of doing a whole lot of model and analysis work.
Yeah.
But I worked on that other end of the spectrum for R&D. But all through my 4 co-ops, I spent all my time in R&D.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. All right. So now we're going to pivot to some questions that you may have to use your imagination for a little bit more. Okay.
Cool. That's cool.
If you could pick a skill from any other major, what would it be and why? And it doesn't have to be a STEM field.
Mm. Philosophy and the way they think.
Ooh, okay. Tell
Yeah.
me more.
Because, you know, just the way they approach, you know, just the way they understand different perspectives and just kind of the way they understand life.
Yeah.
I definitely want that kind of thinking because that kind of thinking is applicable to any sort of situation that you're in.
Yeah.
You're always going to have to see different sides of this. You're always going to have to see different perspectives, whether you're working with, technology, or you're working with people, like you're always going to have to see things from different perspectives, different lenses. And they teach, I think they teach you that in philosophy, like how to think.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like in our field and just any field in general, you have to learn how to think.
Yeah.
So definitely learning that skill or honing that skill would be cool.
That is a really good one. I haven't heard that one before, but I think it is important to not only how you think, but like you said, the perspective from which you think from, because
Right.
especially when you're an engineer, the devices that you create are going to an end user, are going to a person. So being able to think from different perspectives on how people would use this, how would
Of
they not
course.
use it, things like that
Exactly.
are
Exactly.
important. So
Exactly.
yes. If you worked for Webster's Dictionary or
Okay.
any dictionary company of your choice, and they came to you, they said, Obi, you are in charge for writing the definition of what a biomedical engineer is. What do you write based on your own personal experience?
Mm. Um, I would say a biomedical engineer is someone who wants to, mm, you know what? I would say I would say a biomedical engineer is someone who wants to do anything possible to improve the lives of humans all around. Because that's essentially what we do
Yeah.
as biomedical engineers. You know, we create these devices, but we also create these devices from a mindset that this is going to actually help someone. You
Yeah.
know, we're not just working in an. Hopefully, we're not just working in an isolated bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everything that we do, like every project that I've worked on, whether it was like with the urologist or just within classes or just in my co-ops or my full-time job, like every single device, every single thing that we worked on is meant to benefit humans in the long run. Like,
Right.
so that's what I would say, like for sure, the definition of a biomedical engineer, improving the lives of human. And like that's exactly what we do on a day-by-day basis. So
Cool. I would
say
pay you for that definition if I was your boss at the Webster Dictionary.
less, say less.
So, Obi, the biomedical engineer with your chemistry minor, if
True.
you could take all of that knowledge and
Okay.
you could replace any fictional character inside of their universe, who would you replace? It doesn't have to be STEM related. You just get to take all of your knowledge to you with this universe, to this universe.
That's a good question. Um, I replace someone, right?
Yeah,
Or
you replace.
okay. Oh, that is a good question. Huh. Um, I don't know why I'm thinking about a Marvel movie.
Hey, we love Marvel on
Hey,
the
I'm leaning
side
towards
of the
Marvel.
water.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm leaning towards Marvel. Let's see. Um, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I. Yeah, that's a good question. This might be the one question you stumped me on.
Okay.
Um, I I don't know if I would replace someone. I definitely would like to like. Can I twist the question up a little bit?
You wanna? Okay, yeah, yeah. What question you want to answer?
No, I was gonna twist it up in a way where I was like, I would love to like, use my like everything that I've learned within
Mhm.
biomedical engineering chemistry to like work with someone like a Tony Stark
Yeah.
in his lab and like kind of like put my biomedical engineering skills to use like
Yeah.
in his lab
Okay.
and just kinda, like it's like I wouldn't necessarily replace him because obviously like
Yeah.
in that universe that man is a genius.
Yeah. Got some big shoes to fill. If
Yeah, oh, a lot of big shoes. Yeah, very,
you.
very big shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would definitely like love to like, work side by side with him,
Yeah.
in
In
his
which movie? How about that?
oh, dang. This is a good question too. Um, Age of Ultron.
Ooh, Age
Yeah,
of
Age of
Ultron.
Ultron. Yeah, Age of Ultron. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No, I definitely.
okay.
Yeah. I would go with that movie for sure.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about Age of Ultron and my feelings towards that.
Oh man. Okay, that's all good. That's all good.
In 10 seconds or less, why should someone study biomedical engineering?
If you want to impact humans and if you want to make a difference in their lives through the devices you make, biomedical engineering is definitely the field that you should go into because you get to directly make an impact on these people's lives. So that's my 10-second spiel.
And that was good.
Mhm.
All right, Obi. So, um, right now you work at GE Healthcare.
Mhm.
What is your current role and what does your day-to-day look like?
So I won't go into the specific title because it's too long.
Okay.
I'm basically a medical physicist.
Ooh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's the role that people. That's like the space that I'm in specifically. Like,
Yeah.
medical physicist. Yeah, so I do a whole lot of like mathematical equations and physics, like within the space of like imaging.
Yeah.
My day to day, my day to day job, or like my day to day, would be like working on different algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is, and algorithms is just like, I mean, everyone, yeah, but like, algorithms, like these algorithms specifically are used to like generate images. And basically what I do is improve upon those algorithms to
Mm-hmm.
make the images that are generated, you know, better in quality,
Mm-hmm.
or make it quicker to generate those images.
Yeah.
Uh, so it was a lot of like understanding the physics behind the algorithms that are developed,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the image chain. So like there are a lot of different steps that are taken in order to, you know, clean up the image
Yeah.
essentially. Um, and this is like a very high level overview of what I do. But like there's a lot of steps to like clean up the images to make the images look better. And but basically what I do is play around on Python and MATLAB and C++ to make the algorithms perform better.
Yeah.
So we can get better images.
Ooh, I did not know that. That is really cool. So I guess you enjoyed this first week of classes in MATLAB,
Hey man,
huh?
it was.
We should have been asking you for help with the homework.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The homework got me a little bit. A little bit. It got me a
I
little
think it
bit.
got everybody. So,
Yeah, it got a little. Yeah, it got me a little.
all right, we are in the last set of questions, and this is what I like to call the lightning round pop quiz. Okay. I'm going to give you this or that statements, and you just respond with whatever answer resonates most in your soul. Okay.
Ooh,
Okay. Would you rather do a project assignment or a homework assignment?
project.
All right. Final project or final exam?
Final project.
Group project or solo project?
Group project.
Study group or study solo?
Study solo.
Okay. Would you rather have a meal plan or cook your own food?
Meal plans becoming in clutch.
They really do. Would you rather ask the professor for help or a TA?
TAs. Yep, TAs. Maybe knowing a lot.
They do be. And they already took the class.
For facts. Exactly. Exactly.
Internships or co-ops?
Co-ops.
Okay. Fall semester or spring semester?
Spring semester for sure.
Ooh, okay.
Mhm.
Roommates or no roommates?
That's a toughie, but no roommates is nice right now.
All
I
right.
like roommates.
I feel you.
Exactly.
All right. Last question. Would you rather have 8 a.m.s all day, Monday through Thursday, or 5 to 8 labs on Friday?
Um, man, they both trash. I'm not going.
They are.
Oh man. Okay, I would probably go with 8 a.m.s.
8
Yeah, I need my because 5 to 8 is like org time.
Yeah.
Like I gotta do other things, man.
Yeah. On a Friday too? Lab.
Exactly.
I used to
That's
hate labs
crazy.
on Friday.
I can't do no labs on Friday. Not at all. Nope.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
All right, Obi. I'm gonna give you the floor. Do you have any last parting advice to any student that may want to study STEM or biomedical engineering specifically?
My final advice would be, obviously join an organization. I mentioned that earlier, but definitely find a mentor as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be a mentor. Doesn't have to be someone who's much, much, much older than you. A mentor could be a year above you, but find someone who's been in your been somewhere that you want to be.
Yeah.
Learn from them. Tap into their brain, and I'm telling you, like, it will definitely help you grow professionally because those individuals have a lot to give. So definitely find a mentor ASAP to help you grow professionally in whatever engineering discipline. Doesn't have biomedical engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical. Doesn't even have to be engineering related.
Right.
A mentor doesn't have to be someone in the engineering field. I mean, it'll be nice, but like just find someone who will help you grow in any aspect in your life, and try to find that person as soon as possible.
Absolutely. That's great advice because we talked about using your resources, and your peers and mentors,
Right.
good resource to have. So
Of course.
that is great. Thank you so much, Obi. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
No problem. I enjoyed this. It's cool.
Good. I'm glad. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
All right. See you, Brianna.
See ya.